So this is the Module 5 linked learning assignment where we are tasked with evaluating a unit plan that has been provided. So for the purpose of this assignment, I chose to take a look at a unit called Risky Business, which is a unit on health insurance. And while a lot of this was perhaps more science-based with support from math, there were some good English components, and I also felt like I was able to consider other English components that could be added as well, so that was why I chose this one. So overall, the Risky Business unit is divided into 3 subunits where ultimately students are learning about health and contributing factors to our health, as well as the health insurance system, and then how our insurance system reviews our health and makes determinations of care and cost based on it. The unit is organized into 3 subunits. So there is a research and study of current insurance systems and brands. And the goal with that is that by learning about what is out there, that students will be able to then create their own fictional insurance company. They do that to be able to support the subunit 3, which will be discovered later. But that first part is really just exposing them to real companies on this real issue of health insurance and seeing what they can evaluate and how they can differentiate between companies. The second subunit is studying more of the biology side. So looking at high-risk behaviors, whether that is diet or activity, or there's also a pretty large component on genetics. And so behaviors, diseases, genetics, which can all negatively impact individuals' health. And they do that ultimately so that students can take that information and see if a patient were to have a certain health record, what type of insurance coverage might be optimal for them, and what are their rights of, or what are their chances of being denied, that sort of thing. So that all comes together in the third subunit, where case files are reviewed by students so they can approve or deny the claims that are listed there. They also try to evaluate fair premium costs and ultimately try to teach these hypothetical patients, but really kind of in a PSA style to the greater public, about healthier lifestyles, about disengaging in high-risk behaviors, and how those choices could better support their insurance needs moving forward. This unit utilizes linked learning in a number of ways. So as I previously mentioned, there are definitely biology, math, and English components that are pretty visible. There were these questions on the slide came directly from the unit. These are part of the guiding questions that exist under the umbrella of their essential question. Real quickly, let's see. Their essential question: how can we balance personal freedoms and society's need to provide accessible, affordable healthcare? So within that, there are questions divided by subject area that could be studied. Some of them that are not listed in here also included the use of a Spanish class. I was a little perplexed on that. I guess it was more about Spanish culture and comparisons than it was Spanish language. But classes like any kind of health science, biology, as well as English, algebra, and even history when we're looking at current events, as well as historical trends. So questions could be organized like the following: why people travel to other nations to access drugs or treatment. Algebra would be used in terms of determining rates and the variance in those rates amongst their patients. In English, there could be the role of what people can do, so more of a research and exploration of the ability to reduce insurance costs, premium costs. And then finally, in biology, there's a pretty big section on genetics. So the crossing of those disciplines is what really makes this a really strong example of linked learning. So in all of these subjects, the subject areas are working together, all towards a common goal with content and curriculum that is designed to support both their subject, but also that common goal as well. There's also the like workforce relationship and real world partnership that would be really important. So in here, biomedical partners, insurance companies, being able to actually have guest speakers or at least access to those fields would provide a level of real world relevance that then transitions us appropriately to how this is effectively applying the problem-based learning model. So with the essential question that was discussed from earlier, I think there are a couple major kind of obvious points that I could make about that. One is that this is problem-based learning because insurance coverage just as a topic is very relevant. Not only is it, been in the news since Obamacare, really, for our students, I think our students have grown up in a time where healthcare has been discussed a lot politically and nationally, and changes, fairly significant changes, have been made that directly affect them. And so penalties for not being covered or the ability to be covered for a longer period of time, it's a very relevant and authentic issue. And the idea that you could be denied because of your health and wellness status is a very legitimate problem that we need to make sure that we solve. And by solving that problem, not only are students learning about these insurance models and how to save money, but then they're also learning about, with exercise and nutrition sciences, learning about wellness and, just better health of the human body. Also, there is definitely a reliance on collaborative inquiry as students would work through this research process, because it's not an individual type of assignment. There is a lot of teamwork, there would be a lot of grouping, and students would have to kind of discover as they go what they would be, the nuances of what they would be researching within these insurance projects. Adjustments that I could envision making, I definitely had my English teacher hat on while considering this. So things that I thought about were, how could I add an argument component to this at any level? There are two major final assessments, I guess you would say, in this unit. One is writing letters that either accept or deny a hypothetical patient's request for coverage and care. So that letter writing is already obviously an English skill. And then there's also the idea that students are supposed to design a wellness program. So either within that wellness program or as a rebuttal to a denial letter, for instance, or something like that, could there be an argument component added? Argument is a really big part of our English standards. So I feel like something could go that direction. And then something that I didn't particularly notice that seemed like a logical fit was, I think it would be appropriate, obviously with redacting personal information, but to study the actual approval or denial letters from insurance companies, both so that they can model them, but also that they can see how these real world documents are worded, how they are organized, how they are structured, and have some quality discussions about that. So that is the end of the project.